Hey y'all, it's technically still Sunday, and this is your closet case, so that means that you've got to deal with me today. As I'm sure you've noticed from watching all the other videos, this week is some of our favorite things, just so that you can kind of get to know us better. I know that we've kind of had an influx of viewers, so it's just good to let people know who we are. So I'm just gonna jump right in. Just kind of a quick note before I jump into it, like I just said I was going to. I normally have to retake a lot of shots when I do this because I end up like splicing words together and sputtering and being awkward. And this time I'm gonna not do that as much so that you kind of get a better idea of who I am, because that's the whole point. I am a huge musical buff. The song that's playing right now is from a musical called Spring Awakening, and it's pretty close to being one of my all-time favorite musicals. It's all about what happens when we don't teach our children like how to deal with sexuality and gender, and how avoiding that question a lot of time just kinds of bringing even more trouble on you. That was an awful sentence, and I apologize. I just said kinds of, and I'm not quite sure why. I swear I'm not on any drugs or anything. Anyways, you should all check it out because it's a totally fantastic musical. There's also a pretty distinct possibility that I'm a huge nerd. I probably play more video games than is technically healthy, but what you gonna do, right? Not stop playing video games, clearly. This is pretty much my favorite video game ever. It's Kingdom Hearts, and it's a combination of Final Fantasy and Disney, and where can you go wrong with that? I'm also a huge Nintendo fanboy. I love Mario and Zelda and Metroid, and they're all just so awesome. I could talk for days on end about the story, the timeline of Zelda and where everything fits, and like how Princess Daisy is so much cooler than Princess Peach, and I could go for days, but I won't because that's just ridiculous. I read a lot, and I love reading. It's the best way to expand your mind when you don't have anything else to do, or when you do have something else to do, you just don't want to do it, which I do a lot as a college student. My favorite that I can think of right now, I unfortunately don't have a copy with me right now, but it's The Magicians and Mrs. Quent by Galen Beckett. And it's written like in the style of a Jane Austen or like a Charlotte Bronte novel, but it's like, what if there was like a mystical cause behind the social constraints that the heroine might face. It's a fantastic book. I would suggest that any of you pick it up and read it right now because it's awesome. My favorite YouTube personality, I guess you would call it, there's a drag queen, and I've kind of had an obsession with drag queens ever since I watched Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert when I was little. Her name is Sister Unity, and she does a lot of things with her channel, a lot of really cool things. She tells Hindu myths, and she talks about gay rights, and all sorts of things, but probably my favorite thing that she does is that she deconstructs old fairy tales.
The Princess and the Pea, a deconstruction. She represents the patriarchal feminine. We are talking about the feminine in a masculine archetype. Now, granted, we have deconstructed all of our archetypes and we can flow freely between them here in this day and age, and that's of course what's going to give us proper health care in the long run. But we're talking about older archetypes, foundational archetypes upon which Western society was built. So in order to understand our freedoms now and our confusions now, we're going to go back.
She's just fabulous, and I am totally jealous of her, and I kind of wish that I was her. So that's all I'm gonna do for now, because it's now not Sunday, and it's time for me to go to sleep. But y'all should reply. Are there any nerds out there that are like me? Are there any video games that you love? Are there any sci-fi shows that you love? Are there any books that you love? Or is there something that I love that you think is total shit? And if you do, you should totally tell me why. Because I love hearing about things like that. But until then, I'm gonna go to sleep. And hopefully sleep well. And I'll see y'all next time. Have a good one.